Tamara is an early childhood collaborative teacher at Reggio Emilia Inspired Private School / pre-K, the Tribeca Community School. And she is a former first and second grade public school teacher and a creative writing program leader. She can tell us about the Ella Baker School and maybe about the progressive schools in general a little bit. She has a kindergarten at Ella Baker right now.
Hi. I wasn't sure exactly where to begin, but so much of the process has been covered. I think it might make sense if anyone wants to, after I say my little thing, that just the actual process of applying to public schools, and maybe just talking a little bit about that. Sure. Because that alone is kind of daunting, and you don't know what it is. But so I am currently a preschool teacher. I have a class of 3-year-olds and a progressive school, and my prior experience as a public school teacher and then my current life now also as a mother has really formed the way I thought about choosing a school for my daughter. And as a caveat, I do want to say that I was telling Michal, I'm glad with the choice that I made for Ella Baker, but my daughter's only a few months in. I don't know yet how I feel. I know there are things that I really like, but we're going to see how it goes, and I reserve the right to say towards the end of the year, I don't know if that was the right and perfect match, and I may end up changing my daughter's school. But the reason why I chose Ella Baker was mainly because I wanted to have some continuity for her coming from, she went to my school, and if you don't know anything about Reggio Emilia as an inspiration, the quickest way to say it is that it's Italian, but it's done here, it's not Italian, but it's a way of teaching where children are seen as extremely competent even when they're infants, and teachers work to help children develop autonomy and resiliency and independence, both as individuals and as a group, from the time they start school up until the time they leave. And they try to follow the children's interests as much as possible, and there is no preset curriculum. There's a framework teachers develop, and then within that, teachers learn about individual and group interests and form the curriculum as it goes. It's called an emergent curriculum approach. It's not specific just to Reggio Emilia, but that plus a focus called constructivism. If you want to Google it, it's a very important influence in many public schools, not just Ella Baker. But Ella Baker believes in this approach of getting to know individual children as much as possible. And on my school tours, I narrowed it down to Ella Baker, Midtown West to some extent, which is really worth investigating, and Central Park East 1 and 2, which haven't been brought up. But they were the original progressive schools. When you go visit them, they look like they're straight out of the 60s. Not much has changed. Their hippies founded them, and many still work there. But on Central Park East 1, this is in East Harlem, which we ended up not going to because it was too much of a commute, but the children led our tour. And I think that says a lot for how the school thinks about children and their ability to represent and to think and be responsible. Ella Baker was modeled on Central Park East 1. Its name comes from a civil rights leader. It has a major commitment to civil rights and social civic responsibilities. But the kindergarten itself impressed me because they believe in something that's close to my heart, which is that children should developmentally need to still have a lot of freedom and choice and play not as a free-for-all, but as something that is built into the day with ability to make decisions about where they want to be, what is a project that's important to them, and to give them opportunities to sustain their interest over time. The school has to do testing, but on the down low they kind of say, we do it because we have to, but we don't prep children for testing. It is something that is done in order to keep the Department of Education happy. I'll just go back for a second and say something else. It's in District 2, but it is a unzoned school, so it accepts children from all boroughs. It has an excellent after-school program, which is called Manhattan Youth, and it has multiple offerings like ballet, chorus, art, and they're taught by reasonably trained people, which is unusual for an after-school program. It's quite structured, but it goes until 6 p.m. So it's a quality program that has a long history in the city, and it's worth looking into if you need an after-school program for your child. There's a pretty big Roosevelt Island contingency going to Ella Baker. So it's at East 67th between 1st and 2nd, which is fairly close. And for us, although 217 was really an option, we ended, because of the progressive element, we ended up going over. It's really not a big deal between a quick tram ride and then a quick walk up to 67th Street. And it's nice to see people from the island going over. It was important to us to have some kind of connection with the island, so it's really nice. So she sees Ella Baker friends here. What else can I tell you? There is, in Ella Baker, the kindergarten and first grade are combined, and the second and third grades are combined. And this philosophy is in place in large part because those schools that offer this believe that younger and older children mutually influence each other's learning. And I know from my own experience that when a child who knows something about something is with another child who doesn't know that thing quite as well, the child who is asked to explain something or show how something works, just like all of us, we have to kind of put our money where our mouth is, and in so explaining something, we sometimes come up against gaps in our knowledge, and that leads us to further learning opportunities, but often helps us to learn better what we thought we know in having to explain it. Also, it offers other social learning opportunities. So that's a very important piece in Ella Baker. And that kind of is a good segue to just in general that I think that progressive schools in general try to emphasize not as like the side salad to learning, the social development, but as inseparable from cognitive piece. And so they do that through offering opportunities for children to work through their own conflicts and challenges, whether cognitive or social, and not interfering as much as you might see in a traditional school. And I personally feel that I want my daughter to learn to navigate through many different types of learning experiences and social experiences, how to figure out how to make it through and solve her own problems and come out okay, even if it didn't go her way.
Until what grade?
8th. Which last thing is that it's a big school. It's part of the Julia Richmond Education Complex, which is connected to Hunter. And I think there are 4 or 5 different schools with some older children. So if you go on a tour there, you'll see that, and you'll have to be comfortable.
You have to go on the tour, right?
So far,
It's
it
a
seems
mandatory
just
tour.
fine.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We will have plenty of time. Just I want to let our last speaker speak in case anybody has to leave early. Thank you, Tamara. And great Christy could make it. Congratulations to your son to winning his championship.
They won their baseball championship.
So Christy is a stay-at-home mom of a sophomore at Polyprep Country Day School and a 5th grader at the Garden School. And he attended a local public school here through 1st grade and switched then. And is currently applying to Polyprep for 2015-2016 school year. You are a 15-year resident of Roosevelt Island and is most often one of the pioneers who has been here for 34 years. 33,
Yeah, my husband.
And
lived on the
so
island for a long time.
it's great that you have experience about basically both the public and the private school educational systems, more so in private, but you have been through both. You're a member of the Parents League of New York from 2003 to 2006. You served as head of fundraising in PTA for 2 schools, vice president of PTA Classroom as a learning leader in public school system in 2002-2011, and your background and degree is in dance education and communication.
A lot of stuff.
All right.
Yes. So just quickly, I have 2 children in private school. My older son always was in private school from pre-K all the way until now. He's a sophomore in high school. My younger son was in the public school system from pre-K through 1st grade and is now in the private school system starting 2nd grade, and he's currently in 5th. He's applying to the same school that my older son is in. We will see. They do not have a sibling policy, although they do definitely look at the siblings, I guess, in a slightly different way. We'll see how that goes, but I know parents who send those kids to look at it. So I think, if anybody had any questions about the admissions process for private schools, it's sort of where I think give some guidance. I just met with somebody from last year. A couple weeks ago, we sat down and went through all of her schools that she was applying to, and we talked about them. And the great thing I found for the private school system is that my kids, I felt, really thrived in it up to this point in different ways. My older son needed a much smaller atmosphere, something that was just a little more nurturing at a younger age, and now Polyprep is a bigger school, and it has lots of athletics and lots of other extracurricular opportunities for him. And so at 15 years old, he's really starting to figure out, where he wants to go. And I know that seems like a long way off, but my younger son, who was in the local school up through first grade, we also felt like the school here was great. It definitely has like this nice little community feel to it. But we just started to feel like we wanted more of a small classroom for him. We saw what that did for our older son, and we felt like we wanted the same thing for him. So instead of being in a classroom of 25 kids, he was in a classroom of 10. And he really had much more one-on-one attention. There was a lot of opportunity during the school day as far as things that were going, arts and PE and things that we thought that were important to enrich his school day were all parts of the private school. It's just they had the funding. That's the other thing, the finances. I'm trying to be quick, so I'm sort of all over the place. But we had a lot of reasons why we chose private school over public. And
what were the main reasons? What were the main reasons why did you choose? Main reasons.
They have a lot to offer, and it has to do with finances. They do have a lot to offer. It's what my kids really have every opportunity they could possibly want in their education. They really could take anything and go down any path. They have so many different opportunities, and we like that because sometimes I feel like we as parents can only do so much, and we try to get our kids to get interested in something, and they seem to sort of fight us on it. But if it's somebody else presenting an opportunity to them, sometimes they're a little more receptive. And so we wanted to have them in this atmosphere where somebody was like, oh, why don't we try, you seem to be really good at that, why don't you try that? And having that teacher or somebody else to talk them through it, and we felt like that was important. That was one of the top things. And then also that it was a smaller classroom, that there really is a lot of one-on-one attention. They really do, I think the largest classroom even my high schooler has is 15 kids. And even though it's a big school, he's still, the minute there's something going on, I get an email from a teacher, even as a sophomore in high school. It's,
communication.
It really, yes. I mean, the ties between the school and the parents and the administration are all very strong because really, if you think about it as a parent, you really are, the person giving them their job. This is definitely, they want to please you, they want you to be happy with what your child is going through.
So speaking about job, can you tell us a little bit about the tuition and also about the admission process? Like, was it hard to get in?
Well, tuition can be, it can range anywhere from, there's a lot of schools, you hear about the $40,000. Yes, there are schools that are $40,000 a year. There are also private school options that are a lot less. There's like my son is at the garden school right now, my younger son, which is $15,000, which is considerably less than most private schools in the city. And then there are also other private schools that are less than that, or if you look into Catholic school organizations, there's, I don't know, did anybody else think of, there's Q Forest. If you go outside into the boroughs, you can find some private schools that are less than the traditional New York City schools. The admissions process, you have to start the year before. Schools will require that you go on a tour. You have to go through a process of tour, interview, testing. Well, kindergarten doesn't do testing anymore. Some schools will do their testing within the school. They'll have their own little assessment when you go on your interview. And then the application process, it's not, I wouldn't say that it's extremely difficult, but you do need to, it's almost like when you're applying to the public schools and you want to have a whole lot of options, you'll want to apply to, 5 to 10 schools.
Can I just ask about timing, depending on when your child's birthday falls? Is there a mismatch with the
Yes.
September cutoff and
Yeah.
December
Yes,
cutoff?
there is.
Maybe in December?
Unfortunately.
Can you describe briefly what
Most
that?
private schools follow a school year age calendar. So their age birthday cutoff will be before the school year starts. So say
Right.
your child is a September birthday
Yeah.
and they're not turning 5 until September of 2015, they will not actually apply to private kindergarten until the following year.
Unisys cutoff, you have to be 5 by the 31st of August.
Okay.
So if you're September 1st, your child will be 6 when they start kindergarten. You have to be 5.
Yes.
You apply when you're 5.
You'll apply when you're
Yeah.
5, yes.
But for public school, you will.
You would be in kindergarten that year.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so there's a 1-year offset.
Yeah.
If you're between.
If you're a
September
fall
and
birthday,
yeah.
if you're that September
Yeah.
to December
Yes.
birthday time, yeah. And I actually have, my son both of my kids are fall birthdays and both of them are older. My older son just turned 16 and he's a sophomore in high school. And then my younger son is 10 and he is, even though he's in 5th grade, the Garden School follows the public school age cutoff, and when he's applying to Poly, he will actually repeat 5th grade in Poly because their age cutoff is different.
Right.
So.
Thank you, everyone. We now have time for questions.